Okay, I'm gonna ask you something.
Okay.
Uh, wise men say, there is some problem that cannot to be fixed.
Okay.
So, in some point, you need to be just accept it. What do you think about that?
Laugh a little, heal a little, too spicy blue TV. Made for you, cry a little, rise a little, new spicy blue TV. Made for you. Hey, hey.
I kind of have a little saying about that, but go ahead.
In a marriage relationship, sometime we have expectation, okay, about, oh, this problem need to be fixed, this problem need to be get in solution, but that there is a reality that some problem you cannot change that one. I mean, some problem is between husband and wife, and you cannot change the personality, some background on it, and then even though we try to talk about it, try to, okay, what we need to do about this problem, but still, maybe about how you communicate, how I communicate. Sometimes I just crying in the age, and you maybe don't know anything about that.
And then when I say, what's wrong, you say, nothing. And you go back to crying. And obviously something is wrong, but men are not very good mind readers.
All right. And women, sometimes we cannot express our feeling. It's like, I don't like that, but I cannot, you know.
I think the correct phrasing would be women, let's talk about you specifically. You cannot express your feelings in a way that I
Save,
understand it.
you
Men
know.
have simple problems. I'm hungry. I'm sleepy. I'm tired. My tummy hurts. I mean, we have easy problems to express.
Well, we have,
You have problems like, I'm mad at you for 3 days because I had a dream you cheated on me. I can't fix that.
well, that's probably when people said, sorry, man more realistic and woman more, what you call it, feeling, thing with the feeling, with the,
Emotional.
I don't like that word though.
I, I know.
No, how you accept that as a man? Because I think a lot of women is just doing the same thing. Well, please, woman, in my side. Okay, go ahead.
It greatly depends. I mean, first of all, I'm an only child, so I didn't have a sister to deal with, right? So that is
Mhm.
kind of a strike against me in this. I had zero siblings. So my parents, but they didn't necessarily share their problems with me. And I was kind of a secretive guy, probably still am. I don't tend to share everything with my parents. I mean, share's kind of a bad word. That's how I was raised. But I was raised by very traditional parents, which I think that's the best way because that's how I was raised. And as you and I go forward, I learn that you have a lot of the same traditional values that I do. I mean, you're not really the big timeout or positive reinforcement for the kids. You're the lady who says, I'm talking to you with my mouth this time. I'll talk to you with my hand next time. So I get that, and that's why we get along. I think probably I'm more emotional in this relationship than you are a lot of times.
I mean, there is a case that I just cry with no reason. I just, probably the hormone or something, but it's just feel bad when I do that.
You and I have a very unique relationship as far as what my background of relationships is. If I were to see you just cry for no reason, I would not jump to the conclusion that I had done something to make you sad. I would first think that you must have been reminiscing about something that made you sad. Um, because I understand a little bit about you, and I know that it's pretty difficult for me to do something to upset you or make you sad. I mean, it really is. You have a lot of patience and tolerance with me, and it's a good thing because I'm sure that's required at times.
Okay. So for the way the communication between you and me, between husband and wife, you prefer the direct communication or it's like indirect communication or direct communication? Okay.
We're
Like that.
very, you and I have with each other. I think the problems when we have misunderstandings would be if we were in a group of people or we were in a family setting, then we would probably speak more indirectly to each other, hoping that the receiving party understood what we really meant. But you and I are both very, very direct with each other, and that's part of why it works. I mean, this is an old cliche example, but the husband goes shopping with the wife, okay? The wife tries on pants, whatever, and she turns around and she looks at the husband and she said, "Honey, do these pants make my butt look big?" And as a husband, we're thinking, no, the pants don't have anything to do with it. So since we're stupid, we say, no, my dear, they don't. Because that's the truth. They don't. But that's not a good way to communicate because now you're going to be walking around with pants that make your butt look big, and it's kind of my fault.
Well, maybe sometimes women need attention, but men don't understand that. So, we try to push the button, but we don't want to just do that. We just, try a little bit, try a
Well,
little
probably
bit.
so, because as a man, I really have one button, but it has different settings. One button is I need attention. One button is I'm upset with you. One button is I think you're upset with me. And you push the button, and you don't necessarily know what setting the button is on.
That's probably how the woman is.
No, the woman has a million buttons, and we have to figure out without labels what one we need to press.
That worse. No, that worse. That worse. Again, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, no, of course you don't.
Okay, yeah, you're not helping. Okay.
A lot of people, and my dad used to say that, people don't generally like to hear the truth. But I think you and I started from the beginning. We were, I could say brutally honest with each other about things.
Okay.
And it works for us, but we're not 22 years old either. If we were, it wouldn't work for us. I don't know why, but it wouldn't.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, a lot of the things that probably when I was young, I cannot like just accept that, you know. But right now, in my 40, I feel like, well, it happened,
Wait,
it happened. Let's go find
in your what? Did I hear
27.
that right? Okay.
No.
I was thinking, yeah, 27 with
But
a bit experience, shall we say?
oh, thank you. Now you understand how to treat women. That's really perfect.
Well, I think, let me see if I can find a good way to put this.
Okay.
But this, and again, this is specifically about you and me, but I think it's probably a good concept, but because
Okay.
I actually heard one of my field workers in Hawaii, he was a Filipino man, and
Okay.
he was really almost Confucius. I mean, he was good. And he
Okay.
said, each marriage needs to be 100%. That means each spouse must constantly strive to give 80%. And I'm thinking, but 80 and 80 is not 100. And he says, yeah, well, that's when it becomes not a marriage anymore. So think about that. You're willing to give more than your share to make it work. So he was right. Rodney was right. For a marriage to be 100%, each person has to be willing to give 80%. I think that's a good concept. But as half of the marriage, I think
Okay.
each spouse, they actually have 3 roles, maybe. Okay? Role number 1 is you've got to be a friend. Because in our case, especially with long distance, we spend a lot of time just, oh, how was your day? How was this? Oh, well, So and so had a flat tire. I mean, we talk about stuff that it's pretty irrelevant, but that's our routine. And a lot of our funny stories actually come from those conversations, I think. Okay, so that's number one. You got to be a friend. The second one is, and don't jump down my throat about this. I think I can get by with saying this, but we both must be counselors. We must be therapists. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that you need help, but maybe you have a sibling and you tell me the story about the sibling, and I say, well, I think you should do this maybe. And of course, that's a horrible example because I'm an only child. But, you're really, sometimes you're looking for advice and sometimes you're just unloading and venting on me. But,
Well, I mean, before you go to the third, I think about this second things, you're right. Sometimes I don't need solution. I only need someone to hear, to listen.
mhm,
Sometimes it's just like that. And then
mhm,
when I tell the story, sometime I already like, oh yeah, I did something wrong with, okay, sample my brother. Okay, I need to do this. It came out, and then you probably like trigger, a little bit, and like with the question or what, with everything, until I realized that, oh, this is the really problem is.
well, and I think that's one thing that we work through a lot. But number one, a lot of the times when you tell me a problem, an issue, a situation, and you tell me that you're seeking advice, you already know what I'm going to say because you know my mind. And I think even though you know I'm going to say it, you need to hear me say it. And still, that's therapeutic. That's part of therapy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I do the same thing, and you'll throw stuff in my face. There was a saying that I used for a long time with people. Hey, it's not all about you. And what I meant was maybe you're not the cause of the problem. It's an outside situation in that person's life. It's not always about you. And then you threw that back in my face one time. And I understand why the ones who I was saying that to didn't like it because I didn't like it, right? But it's the truth,
Yeah,
right?
but that's the truth. It's not about you.
And the other part of therapy, and this is something that I'm not going to say you struggled with it, you just really never considered it. And I always have to come at you saying, okay, but why did they do that? What could their end goal
Yeah.
have been for doing that? What's their motivation behind it? And now that you're doing that, I think you're doing that a lot. Um, it kind of it makes us really more tolerant or more patient with other people if we can determine that they had a
Why? The
legitimate
reason.
motivation. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
We
again,
know what the reason why they do that.
right. And it may be really important. It may look petty on the outside, but if they have a background, it may not be. So that's all part of the therapy role. And the third role is you've got to be a spouse. Okay? So over and above being a friend and being a therapist, you've got to be the person that when you dress up to go to dinner, I look at and think, holy cow, she's gorgeous. She's better than she was when I married her. That's just the other part. And I think being the friend is the easy part, being the spouse is the fun part, and being the therapist is the part where you become comfortable with how each other thinks. And in all of our years, there's really been only one thing, and it was about kids, that I disagreed with what you did. And we talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And I said, I would have done it this way. I wouldn't have done that. And you said, okay, thank you, but I'm going to do it this way. And what did I say?
Yes, dear.
That's right. Because you were not going to back down. We didn't have a fight about it. You made your stand. You tried to prove your point. I still disagreed with it, but you won.
That's the things that I gotta ask you. Win and lose strategy.
I think that was something that I brought up that you were really uncomfortable with. because it related
Exactly
about the
right.
difference between thing one and thing two and how you disciplined them and did things.
In the our relationship, sometimes I mean you still go with that and like how so who win in this case? How.
Everything. But how we brought this up was a 4-year-old at the time. And I told you every situation in her life is win or lose. There's no negotiation. There's no middle ground. It's win or lose. And you didn't like that. And you said, well, is our life like that? And I think I gave you some examples, but it's just like thing one versus thing two. He negotiates. He's older. And I think you had a great realization somewhere around thing two's birthday when she turned 6, because the day before the birthday party, she actually had 3 or 4 negotiations with you where you both won because you did a good job.
I think I could ask you something about this. If some point I like, okay, leave me alone. So that's when, you give me space or something. Do you think uh I gotta give up? Or do you think what when I say just give me space?
I think the first thing, because I know you, is when you say that, I'd be like, okay, what's going on? You don't ever tell me that. Do you really want me to give you space? I don't need to know why. I just need to know, are you serious? Because
Okay.
I think deep inside of a woman, she always wants the man to fight for her. And if you need space because you're having stress or anxiety about a situation that's out of your control, that's one thing. If you're having a problem with me or a perceived problem about me, or the dream that you had last night has made you hate me, then it's a little different situation. But,
Just depend.
yeah, it depends, but I don't think you'll give up. You've got too much invested. We've been through a lot, and oddly, we've not had major issues, problems, but we're older. And I mean, you see me sit down trying to reschedule a flight, and you sit down beside me with your hand on me, and you're being nice because you know that before long I'm going to get mad at the CSR, and I'm probably going to almost throw my computer across the kitchen. And you've already picked up on that, and you make it your job to make sure that doesn't happen. Because the only thing worse than me getting mad at the CSR because they won't schedule my flight right and throw my laptop across the kitchen is I got to buy a new laptop.
See? But you answer everything yourself. So
Well, here's the deal. No, think about it. Who won or lost in that situation? I mean, ultimately, I won because even though I didn't get what I wanted on the phone, I didn't have to go buy a new computer. And you won because you were the one that caused me not to have to go buy a new computer. So there's still compromise. And
compromise, right?
I think a lot of the things, even more so than compromise with us, in our compromise, we see that we both win.
Okay. About the compromise. Sometimes, okay, this is the problem, and we compromise one time, and then we compromise the second time, and we compromise the third time. But I think 1, 2, 3, maybe there is no problem. We just compromise, and probably 4, 6, 7, 10, it will be a problem.
Well, first of all, if this compromise means that I won all those times, that's not a compromise.
So
I've
we
got
need to.
In your mind, whether I win or not, in your mind, you've got to win sometimes. I've got to win sometimes, even in a compromise. Because maybe we both win, but we don't win at the same level. We
Okay.
both got to go eat, but we went to the place where I didn't want to go. But I got fed, you got fed, and got to go eat at the restaurant where you wanted to go. So we both won. I didn't starve to death, and you got to go where you wanted to go.
Well, I think in the conclusion of this conversation, there is a problem that we just let it be. We just accept it. And there is a problem that we need to fix still.
Well, I think that's right. And my grandmother had a saying, and she said, if it's not going to matter 100 years from now, why does it matter to you today? But I think what we're talking about here, there's win, okay, and there's lose. And that here and here. somewhere in the middle, this whole section here is compromise. So a compromise doesn't mean we both get exactly what we want. I may get more of what I want this time. I'll get less of what I want the next two times. Because compromise is more of a gray area. It's not a, So,
You're right. You're right.
and that doesn't matter if you're
And
buying a car, you're buying a house. I mean, any major purchase, that's going to come into play. Discipline of
okay,
children in a blended family, that's going to come into play.
that I can say the amount needs to be 100%, but sometimes you get a 60, I get a 40, and sometimes I get the 90, you get a 10.
Exactly. But
So,
I think being able to accept that, we don't keep score. Well, we
yeah.
do kind of keep score a lot of times, but you know what I mean.
Well, after this, we still talking or no?
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you. Did you say something I wanted to hear?
Again, let it be.
That's it. I think we
Let's
could write
let
a
it
song
be.
about that if it hasn't already occurred.
Na 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 na. See you in the last and now this next episode. Not the last episode. Next episode.
Last episode that I'm going to be in with you. See, that actually could be a win for you not to have to deal with me on this platform.
Well, they kind of lose too. They kind of lose too.
A little bit.
Remember,
Handcuffs.
I think that's the things that put us together.
Really? A piece of metal and a stone keeps us together.
Baby, look, I have a 5 fingers. I still feel one. Okay, see you in the next episode. Okay.